Welcome to Peace Freaks, a parenting and family podcast for the freaks, geeks, nerds, and weirdos, the outcasts who went on and had their own. We're used to being the exception to the rule, so come along with us as we try to also live exceptionally. We're here to help make you the best version of your freaky family. All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Peace Freaks. I am Nikki P. here, Lizzie, as always. How are we doing, lovely wife and co-host?
Fabulous.
We are opening up season 2 of Peace Freaks. Did you know I broke these things up into seasons?
I don't know if anybody did, but that's okay.
I mean, there's multiple seasons. It sounds like Liberty like we used to be, and now there's multiple seasons of this. Basically, whenever we try to change concept, I at least break up the seasons, if nothing else.
At least we can try and track it that way.
So season 2, Peace Freaks, where we are officially transitioning. We're making changes.
Yep.
We're doing all kinds of fancy stuff.
Changes.
Turn and face the walrus. Walrus. I think all songs need to have more walruses in them.
Okay, fair enough.
You know what solidified that?
No.
Tusk.
Okay.
That shitty Kevin Smith movie that I love so dearly.
It was like good shitty though, I guess.
I mean, he decided to live his life as a walrus.
Yeah, he did.
Like, he just completely snapped. There was no human being left in him, and he was just a fucking walrus at the end of it.
It was...
Sorry if I spoiled that for you folks.
I mean, at the end of the movie, I just basically was thinking, I intentionally watched that. That's a thing that happened.
I intentionally bought it to watch it.
Yeah.
I own that shit on DVD.
Yeah, so there you go.
So, anyways, we were teasing last episode what we're going to do in this episode, what we're going to talk about. And then we decided, no, we're not going to talk about that anymore. We'll do that next week. It'll be next Monday.
Yep.
So, basically what happened, we went out. Doesn't happen often.
No.
But I don't know, why did you send me that message the other day about the drive-in?
It came up. Well, it was Bill and Ted, 3, and we'd both kind of been talking about, we should see it when it comes out. And so something came up in my Facebook feed, I think, about Bill and Ted, 3 at the drive-in. And I thought, you know what? That might be cool. So I just, shot the message over to Nikki there. And he agreed with me, apparently.
I mean, maybe. I thought it was at least looking into. More than that, I was like, you know what? The kid's never been to a drive-in.
No, and she hadn't. And so, yeah, figured it'd be a good experience for her.
It had been a long while since Dad had been to a drive-in.
Yeah, I hadn't been since I was 11, something like that.
It had been a little bit sooner for me. I believe the last time I went to the drive-in, do you remember what the last thing you saw at the drive-in was?
No, I have no idea.
So what I saw, it may have been together. These may have been separate affairs. All I remember was trying to flirt with my girlfriend's friend.
Mm-hmm.
She was a buxom redhead, so far more my speed than the blonde swimmer I was with. But she did have that Christian thing, which even back then was a little weird. I think it already started turning away from godly people.
Mm-hmm.
Strange enough. Anyways, the movies that I recall were it was either Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
Okay.
Or the new guy. And maybe both.
Wow.
That may have been the twofer for that night.
That takes you back. The new guy.
Yep.
I'm not even sure I know what that is, but okay.
Wait. You don't know what the new guy is?
I remember Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, but the new guy just sounds...
DJ Qualls.
Oh, no.
Eliza Dushku.
Back in the era of DJ Qualls.
Zooey Deschanel when she was still a blonde.
Wow, that's weird.
And had Harry Pitts in the movie.
Okay.
She was the bass player, I think. You got with the Asian keyboard player.
Wow, that's intense right there.
The thing about the new guy, honey, it's not that it's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's that movie is so chock full of cameos. It's not. It's ridiculous.
I see.
There's a scene where Tommy Lee walks in and goes, "All right, I'm gonna need a giant martini glass and enough vermouth to cover both of these women." And he's got a woman under each arm. Yeah, just very, very Tommy Lee kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I'm seeing Tony Hawk, Gene Simmons. It looks pretty intense.
Tony Hawk is cheering for the guy, cheering for the other team.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty funny. He breaks a skateboard over somebody's head.
Yeah, that seems like how that movie that would go in that movie.
Liz, I think we're gonna watch it when we're done recording today. That's what's
might happen.
Yeah, because that movie's freaking hilarious.
Okay, it looks ridiculous. So,
anyways, so that's gauging when the last time I went to the drive-in.
Yeah, that movie came out in 2002, people, in case you haven't Googled it yet.
Yeah, so it was my senior year of high school. So we went, we watched, last night we decided on, we thought about Lego Movie and The Goonies. Seemed okay,
Yeah.
but I couldn't get over my need to know for sure
Right.
how Bill and Ted was going to be.
Right.
So we ended up going with Bill and Ted and Weird Science.
Yes.
So you, me, and the little one, we packed up the car, got all of the movie food. There's thanks to the coup. They don't care if you bring your own food right now. I'm like, yes.
Nice.
So we're bringing it. We're bringing everything. Like, we just made it a thing.
Yeah, we did.
Gluttonous.
Pretty much.
Sheer gluttonous. So we went, we watched movies, and I was not disappointed that I get to be right,
Yeah.
because that's not something that's likely to disappoint me.
Right.
But I was definitely right. The movie was exactly what I would expected it to be. And it's sad, because had that movie been made in any other era, like, it wouldn't have been bad.
Right.
The wokeness thing doesn't really bother me, other than when they tended to do it, they tend to just write shitty.
Yeah.
Trying to give you a moral lesson when they could have just wrote better characters and the moral lesson would have been way better received.
Yeah.
Like, is it, for instance, in the movie, probably the hardest thing to get around is, like, they both have daughters. And as opposed to letting the young actresses play characters, they just have them mime their dads, like, from back in the day. So, like, you're two young ladies and you get a character in, like, a big movie, and then your job is just to act like two dumb people from a dumb movie 25 years ago.
Yeah, basically.
It's underserving to the whole point. It's like, okay, so your way of lifting up female actresses and female voices is to make them act poorly in movies? That doesn't seem like it's going to end with the result you want. Because then anyone who walks away is like, I remember they sucked in that movie. That's what I'm going to remember. Those poor girls sucked so bad in that movie, to no fault of their own.
Yeah, you could have just given the characters more to do also. I think there's more interesting things you could have explored there.
You say that, but was there more to do in the original Bill and Ted movies? Because it kind of wasn't much going on.
Well, no, but I mean, I feel like what made Bill and Ted so likable as a movie, I think, was just how earnest, they played the characters. Like, yeah, they're just like doofy, kids that want to be rock stars, but like they were really genuine about it. Like, not that this didn't feel real, because there was nothing to the characters. Like, we've already seen, okay, doofy teenagers that want to be rock stars. Like, yeah, okay, cool.
Well, that's the thing about it. They didn't even want to be rock stars. They were appreciators.
Yeah, of their dads having wanted to be rock stars.
Well, no, they appreciated music and they like knew everything about it. Like, it wasn't like they didn't know things about it. It was just they were kind of like going to live their dad's dream.
Yeah,
and it wasn't necessarily their own dream. Maybe they didn't have a dream.
Well, you just don't really know what they were about.
Exactly, and there lies the point. They were flat characters, really just miming these two other guys. And it was just frustrating.
Yeah.
There are other things, like there was the moment where apparently there are no men in the future. They got rid of all of them because the head council was all women, and they were all very interracially, they all represented the four corners of the globe, we'll just say.
Yeah.
So once again, I don't care about, but when you then show up and like the only men in the movie are getting yelled at
right
at every point in the movie, it's kind of hard to ignore.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you guys haven't wrote your song yet, and now the universe is crumbling, and it's all your fault, and blah, I hate you. And then we don't even trust you to fix it, so we're going to go and... We won't get too much into the rest of the movie. You can go see it yourselves if you want to. I would personally wait until it's not $20 to watch.
Yeah, for sure. On the other hand, Weird Science was a glorious, like, as woke as that movie was, is how unwoke the other movie was. Yeah, which was hilarious because they totally just, like, butting the two up against each other made it even more jarring. I was multiple times waiting for them to shut the movie off and apologize to us. It was just so funny. And I mean, But no, it was refreshing after the fact because you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, that was actually the way the world was at one point. Like I thought I wasn't crazy that that people just didn't give a shit at one point.
So much so that I have to ask, am I crazy anymore? Yeah. So all that aside, we're not here to talk about Bill and Ted, believe it or not. It brought to mind, as we're driving home, me and Liz were talking about date night.
Right.
And part of the whole parenting thing is, I don't know, like we haven't been on a date proper. I guess I say we haven't been on a date proper since we had Irma, but truth be told, I don't know that we ever actually went on a date proper.
We were never really that kind of daters, and that was the thing. Like there is this idea that you're supposed to, I don't know, like prioritize your marriage and keep it going by like carving out time to have an actual date night, and you're supposed to get a sitter, and you're supposed to like do something fancy, I guess, and get dressed up and do adult stuff. And it's not like we've never done that. Like we've had nights when your sister's in town or your parents or something, and you have a show, and I'll get dressed up and we'll go to the show and we'll be adults out together, whatever. And those are fun.
But therein lies the thing is like, so with us, we never really quote unquote dated in the first place.
Right.
Like when we first got together, it was mostly like you were working 3 jobs and
yeah,
shuffling yourself way the exact opposite side of the city to hang out with me.
Yeah.
And most of our relationship was just Netflix and chill.
Yes, very much.
Like you'd come over, we'd watch Netflix and either pass out or fuck, one of the two.
Right. I mean,
sometimes both.
Usually, yeah, in some sort of a circuit.
And sometimes it would last a night, sometimes it'd last a weekend.
Yeah, it just depended on like if I had to go back to work
or how uncomfortable my roommate was with it.
Yeah, and most of the time it was, we were watching literally like Adventure Time or something. Like it was not an intentionally romantic thing, but like it was romantic because we were together. Like it worked for us.
I wanted to spend time with you, and whatever else was kind of whatever else.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I've come down on this, is that like, I guess to everyone else, maybe we have an unromantic life, but the bottom line is like, so yeah, we could have tried to find a sitter, which maybe we should do an entire episode on like why we don't have sitters.
Yeah.
Or is that part of this episode too, that we don't have anyone that lives close enough that I trust to take my kid?
Yeah, kind of.
But that aside, like even if I could do that, like I don't know, we're both working very diligently on what we want to do on our goals in our life. If it's not for the podcast or one of our jobs, it's not really pushing the needle in a way. I feel like we're just wasting our time.
Yeah.
And not to say that like we don't cherish time together. I think it's more a matter of that like when I have the time to spend on something, I don't feel the need to get rid of either one of you. I want to spend the time with both of you.
Yeah.
And so for me, like date night, you and me and Irma squished into the back of the car, snuggling, eating junk food, watching a movie is about as good a time as I can imagine.
Yeah.
Like I guess we could have went to some fancy dinner and maybe did a staycation at a hotel or some shit, but like it put it this way, there's gonna be nothing nostalgic about that to remind me of when we were younger.
No.
Or when we were first dating. Like what really reminds me of our dating is just curled up on the couch watching fucking Netflix.
Yeah. I mean, I would almost feel like, I guess, trying to do the adult version of like, this is what adults do when they're dating, like, which does kind of feel almost like a put on.
I mean, everything in life just seems like, oh, we're trying to do what people think we need to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, it's not us. I don't think that's something you should strive for if it doesn't really fit.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I mean, that's really what the whole point in this show moving forward is going to be, is that like you adult the way that you want to adult, and it really shouldn't matter to anyone else. How do I put this? I want the show to exist to empower people to go on and live the best life, whatever that life is to them, and especially if it doesn't look like the life that everybody tells them they need to be living. We've had a lot of different visions of how our life should look.
Yeah.
And in like maybe at one point in time before Irma, it looked like swing dance lessons.
Yeah. And maybe at some point we'll get to that.
I mean, maybe if we're allowed to go out in public and touch people again, but I don't know.
You're right.
I don't know how that'll all work now. I mean, if we did swing lessons, maybe we could do swing dance lessons with Irma. I want her to like go and introduce her to a rockabilly crew,
Yeah. No, I mean,
whatever we can do to make her life interesting.
Yeah. there's nothing. There's worse place to meet other young people than on the dance floor learning to swing dance. For Pete's sake.
I mean, am I off base on this? Like, am I just like trying to drag you along in a vision of our life that you don't
No,
want, or
I enjoy spending time with you. I enjoy the date nights that we have. In fact, I think I have emotional moments, and I talk about date night. But we've had nights when we get a party tray, and we'll pick a couple movies, and like we'll kind of have like the home party, and that feels fun to me. Like that works for me. Or the nights when we'll do nerd gaming, or the nights when whatever. Those are all really good memories of having fun together. I think that's really what, at least I think, the date night idea is trying to capture. You need to have fun, you need to explore things together with that other person, so that it's not all just paying bills, and did you do the dishes, and oh, the kid needs this.
well, even aside from that, for me, it's like it's just I joke with people, but I don't like fun.
Well, yeah, and that's that's true. If you're not into things that feel forced to be fun, then it's family game night is not going to be a good fit for you.
For me, the fun is in the reward of accomplishment.
Yeah.
I think of a night where it's like, oh man, we totally got all this stuff done. We're set up for the next week. Like we're moving towards this life that we want.
Yeah. I mean, I do love those days when we have like those long conversations about, okay, well, this is what we want. Like, how do we get there?
Like, do we want a bus, or do we want like property, or what do we want here?
Yeah.
What are we doing with ourselves, Pete?
We have like our workshop nights where we'll listen to a mastermind or something, and like take notes and be total nerds about it. Like that's, I don't know, that seems kind of romantic coupley stuff, because we're talking about the life we're building.
Well, what's romance in the first place?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's supposed to be focusing on the two of you together, and your life going forward, right? So
I mean, I've always joked that, like, so if anyone's watched Bob's Burgers, there is actually an episode in that show where the hard-boiled cop literally describes what dating means to me. I hate the concept of dating, frankly. Like, I've always have. The idea of just going out and randomly spending time with people willy-nilly just seems stupid.
Mhm.
And wasting your time doing it seemed extra stupid. And maybe this is the tism coming out. I don't know. But, I mean, it just, the whole point for dating to me was, I'm trying to find a person to pair off with and, mate and do all that kind of stuff with. So why am I wasting time if my end goal is marriage, not just focusing on that?
Yeah.
So, our first date was what our first date was.
Yeah.
That can be its own episode. But, I go into all dates, I throw all of my baggage on the table, like front and center. It's like, okay, this is as bad as it's going to get. If you think you can handle this bullshit, then maybe we got a shot at this. And maybe we can tolerate each other.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I feel like we both kind of did a good job of taking care of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was at that point kind of nothing to lose, and I tried the whole, okay, well, let's see what going out with a bunch of people is like, and that was kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm over it. So, I wasn't really interested in.
It did not work out well for you.
No, I was just, after a certain point, you're like, yeah, okay, I can go out with a bunch of idiots, or I could, be attached to someone who's not attached to me, because I tend to attach to people, or I could just, actually look for someone that I want to be attached to. So, just makes more sense.
And since that guy never showed up.
No, I meant you, silly.
Ridiculous. But the reason I bring all that up is because, I mean, it complicates, I guess, at the very least, it complicates the idea of date night.
Yes.
Because, like, I didn't believe in dating when we were dating. So what the hell am I gonna? Why am I gonna try and all of a sudden force that into the relationship after the fact?
Yeah, and I feel like maybe it's just using the phrase date night that like creates this idea, because there is an idea of what that's supposed to be. But to me, it's just taking the time to have fun together, and we don't always do that. So I do want to make time for it, but I don't, want to.
And that I agree with. I definitely want to prioritize more experiences with you and Irma, because like I do think well, not necessarily date. Like there are things that I'd like to do with you guys that I guess we probably don't talk about them much because we are very busy dealing with stuff.
Well, I mean, we've been in like hustle or die mode for a long time. We're finally getting to the point where we can kind of catch our breath a little. So
That was a lot of it.
yeah.
I don't know. You got anything else? So you think that? I think that the consensus between us is that date night is whatever you want date night to be.
Basically, yeah.
And if you want to bring the kid along, that's fine.
Yeah.
I feel like maintenance of sex is probably a completely different thing, not necessarily attached to date night.
That is true. I think for a lot of couples, maybe that is the only time that you actually like get down when you have a sitter for the kid and you've been able to have the dinner and a movie. And I'm not saying taking time for your relationship doesn't help in that area for us too, but like it's a separate thing for us. So whatever works for your relationship.
I mean, sex after a date's kind of like, well, why we're all sweaty now.
Yeah, I mean, we did the whole thing.
I'm more of a mind like we showered before bed. Sit on my face when we wake up. We're good. Like let's do that instead. Much better.
Yeah, just
The kid's still out. Let's handle this.
we've been up all this time because we went out. Like,
Let's go to bed.
I could sleep now.
Yeah. Let's get to the sleeping part of the evening. That sounds good. The moral of the story, folks, is date night's whatever the hell you want it to be. Have fun with it. So let's get into some of the maintenance work of the show.
All right.
Since this is a show about life and living,
Right.
let's talk about the things that tend to be important in our life and living.
Okay.
We're trying to do this every episode, at least a little bit.
Yeah. So
Gardening, homeschooling, and books. Let's start with the easy one. What have you been reading this week?
this week I've read North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell, which is like one of the classic novels, and I mean it's basically like at that time would have been the Harlequin romance, like probably not a terribly serious novel, except for it does talk about class a lot, which is really interesting. It's actually a remarkably
sophisticated,
religious book also. So you have the religious angle and the class angle and the romance. It was enjoyable.
Nice. I'm right in the middle of reading, like I said, the politically incorrect guide to the presidents.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, this week, I read the Cthulhu case books.
Oh.
Sherlock Holmes and the Shadwell Shadows.
Yeah, that is definitely on my list now because I loved reading back through Doyle's Sherlock Holmes novels. So something that's taking off of that.
It's very much going that speed.
Yeah.
I guess this is as good a time as any. If you haven't read, you can go get on my Goodreads and read my thoughts on the Cthulhu country, which much like I felt about Bill and Ted in this episode. I was weirded out by the fact that a white guy wrote a period piece about black people in the 1950s.
Yeah, there's that.
It felt a lot like an exercise in white guilt of just getting rid of, mentioning all of the most awful stories he'd ever heard about black people and police all in one book. Basically, the only contact that any of these people had with white people was, being assaulted by them.
I see.
There were no apparently decent white people at the time.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the case. I don't know. It was around in the 50s. I assume that there was at least some people that would mind their business. There was no minding their business at any point in any of these people in the story. That being said, the fucking book, it was like young adult fiction.
Yeah.
Like it was written poorly. And like the guy, I don't think had ever read Lovecraft.
Well, that's just disappointing.
Like none of the mood or tone or any of that was in it from that. It was written just like a modern pulp horror story, which those just suck.
Yeah.
In general. So it was good to get the Cthulhu case files things under my belt because it kind of wiped that taste away. And like, oh, good, finally somebody gets Lovecraft.
Nice. More satisfying, huh?
This white guy did. But allow me to reiterate my point from the beginning. If you're going to write marginalized people, could you fucking at least write them well instead of like making shitty characters? That's the thing that pisses me off more than anything.
Yeah.
Like, I have no problem with like shoehorning diversity into books. Just fucking do it good. It's so disgusting when they suck.
Yeah. Not something you'd feel like you'd have to repeat so often, but there, yeah.
It's all like, I always come back to it. Write me Tank Girl.
Yeah.
Give me a fucking cool character. Don't give me bullshit. Give me someone that I'm going to fall in love with, not somebody that I'm like, oh, great. Feel empowered, black people, women, whatever.
It's obviously not a paper doll person.
Whatever. I'm just so angry when I finished that.
Yeah.
I guess moving beyond that. What's up with homeschooling this week?
Homeschooling is going well. We both had like our first sort of melting down day, but we got through it. We found something that worked for that day and kind of moved on. And I'm also doing some more organizational stuff to just try and get ourselves a routine going, like figure out what's going on what day. And we finally got our acknowledgement, not permission, acknowledgement letter from the superintendent. So.
And I've been busting her balls about this for weeks, and she never let on to why it matters. And why does it matter, Liz?
Well, I mean, besides the fact that I am legally supposed to hang on to the thing, there is the fact that, you can get that instructor card at the library and just check things out, a lot of things for a long time and not get fines and whatnot. So, it'll give me a lot more latitude in my materials I can pick up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got that, and I think that the garden, we were watching some things die.
Yeah.
Because that's the season.
Yep, it is a transitional season in the garden. The cukes and the summer stuff are all fading away, and it is beginning to be time for our kale and our peas and all of our winter more cool weather things to take over. So
the kale is doing kale things.
It is. It has been kicking butt all summer long and shows no signs of slowing as the nights are getting cooler.
Coincidentally, like really quickly, all of the tomatoes just started to pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
We've been getting tomatoes for a month or two now.
Yeah.
But like they're all just boom. Every time I look in there, it's just freaking yellow and red now.
Yeah, which is awesome. We'll get them in, and then we'll have to.
My Dago blood craves it.
Yeah, make ourselves some sauce or some salsa or something.
Some ragu.
Yeah, make the gravy. So yeah, it'll be good.
Right on. Anyways, anything else you need to get out?
But I mean, we'd love to hear your questions, comments, thoughts about date night, and keep the conversation going.
I would love to hear people's stories about like
yeah, for sure.
We'll say like the most ridiculous or the best date nights they've ever had.
Yeah, definitely. Hit us up on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter and
peacefreaks@nickmccone.com.
Yeah.
That's where you'd send it.
Yeah.
Or you can look up us on Twitter, or if you got photo or graphic evidence, you can always Instagram it with us. But otherwise, if you enjoyed what we're doing, stop on over to iTunes. Give us a positive review. Maybe give us some stars, 5 stars preferably. If you're not gonna give us like some stars, just stay away from there, because since we're doing a shift from like our old format here. Let's just say we've had some drop off in our numbers. I'd like to start picking that back up. And the best way to pick that back up is by having people listening go out and help us do it.
Yeah.
Like if you go there right now, I think they still think we're a music podcast, and we haven't been that in a while.
So if you want to review us as the podcast that we are now, that would be awesome. Just so people know what they're getting into.
Yeah. Spread the word for this podcast. If you want to help out in any other way, what you can go do is go head over to Peace Freqs. Spell it either way you like. It'll get you to the same place. And you got show notes and I don't know, lots of other information. They've got links to all of our socials on there, like Parler and Twitter and Minds, wherever. We're everywhere on there. I would send you the Goodreads, where me and Lizzie are always housing books.
Yeah.
Especially since Audible updated, where now they get a bunch of crap included. I've just been going ham.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Like there's stuff I didn't have to pay for. I'm like, oh yeah, just read it all.
Oh, the classic freaking novels. It's amazing.
I'm listening to the politically incorrect guide to the presidents. Like, I'm going to be honest. I don't like this guy's view of the presidents either, personally. But
okay.
I'm pretty sure the end of the book's going to be fuck Obama and George Bush is great. And
yeah,
can't we just agree on like the fuck both of them?
One of these days.
You're gonna fuck both of them one of these days, Liz? After
Ew,
everything we've
no.
talked about here, that's where you're gonna go?
No. I just meant maybe one of these days, like political commentary will actually get there. Like the side, it doesn't matter. It all sucks.
You know what I would love? I would love political commentary to just go the fuck away.
Well, maybe that too.
Maybe with the politics. Let's send it all away.
Yeah.
So, anyways, folks, thanks for hanging out with us. We'll be back on Wednesday with our interview with Mr. John Odermatt, followed by an interview with Mr. Dan Reed on Friday.
It's gonna be awesome.
Oh, wait a minute. Did we just let the cat out of the bag that this is going to be 3 episodes a week?
Gasp. I know it's new, but we're excited to be able to share more content and more specific content with you. So
Bite-sized chunks. That's really what I'm all about.
yeah.
I don't have to record crazy long episodes, and it's gonna be better this way, I promise. So, anyways, folks, you take it easy.
Make it magical.
This podcast is a proud creation of the Mad Audio Lab. For more information, check out madaudiolab.com. Peace Freqs is part of the Liberty Hippie Podcast Network. If you like what we do, be sure to check out Homesteads and Homeschools, Free Markets Green Earth, Cannabis Heals Me, and This Week in Liberpods. We're living proof that libertarian doesn't mean washed up Republican.